Hey, good afternoon, everyone. A little late today for the Monday update that we like doing, but hey, better late than never, right? Just want to kind of talk through market update, what we're seeing, and what's seeing and reading both in the press as well as kind of what we're seeing around town with the market right now. We talked last week with the market stats were out, and kind of the big takeaway was inventory at 1.2 months. That is definitely continuing through right now. Rates are staying low. It's a market that I think has become comical on some levels, frightening on some levels, frustrating on some levels. There's a lot kind of going on, and we'll kind of talk through some of this stuff. So, kind of with that, like we always do, hey Jeff, how's the market? Century locks. This is every time Jeannie and I open up a door, it registers a point on the little graph for how busy we are going off showing homes. So activity prior to last week, up 2.5%, rounded up. In the Portland metro area. So showings are definitely ticking up. August tends to be a bit of a lull month, if you will. We see things kind of slowing down at times, and then September comes booming back. Whether it's people are looking for, they realize they have just a couple weeks left to do vacations and road trips before school starts, or back to school shopping, or they're just otherwise preoccupied, not necessarily focused on housing. That said, we're trending up from last week. We're kind of holding steady from kind of a recovered, if you will, summer activity. So there's a little bit of a lull we're seeing in some areas within this month, but it's kind of holding steady all at the same time. So that's your Portland update. Washington pretty much the same. It's almost double the activity. So it's a nice little pickup from last week up there. I know I've been making a few trips north of the border here lately, so there's a lot of activity. Price is a little bit better, inventory is a little bit more plentiful. Whether it's people who are just looking for a little bit more space or land, or just more available housing, it's not a bad option up there if you don't mind dealing with the bridge every day for your commute. God help you if you had to do the I-5 bridge. So otherwise, just kind of talking on a national basis, this little chart kind of came out showing the severity of kind of real estate listings and change in new listings kind of compared to last year. So you can see us, we're sort of in that kind of that pinkish color, meaning we're down, 16 to 30% on our listings. And, I shared a lot of those stats with you guys last week, where inventory's down. We're seeing new listings are kind of starting to come up. I want to say it was up 6 to 7% on the new listings for the month of July, but the pending sales are up like 24%. So mathematically, it tells me I think inventory is about to get worse from a statistical basis coming up, but we'll see what happens during this month when we can get those numbers reported out. But definitely, we are way down. Some other areas are down even more significantly. Utah's getting kind of clobbered. Some places are way up, and no rhyme or reason, not even gonna guess why. But yeah, we are definitely down, and there's a shortage across the nation. And this gets talked about. It's coronavirus for a lot of these states, where people are just not wanting to have people come through their homes. Certainly places like Texas, kind of most of the southern states there, Georgia, Alabama, places that have been in the news lately for all the wrong reasons on spikes in COVID rates. Their new listings are down because I don't blame them. Mine would be down too. So we're down, but we're holding in there fairly steady. We get asked pretty regularly if we think coronavirus is going to have a big impact, whether now or next year or next month, from people losing jobs and foreclosures. And there's forbearance talks for a while, but forbearance numbers are kind of curtailing down. And I'm trying to find forbearance stats by state, but that's apparently not a thing quite yet. So this kind of shows, I think, encapsulates pretty well why I think real estate has been holding up so well, and why it's clearly kind of leading us back out of our little mini recession. These are kind of the employment drops by sector. So number one, leisure. So this could be your hotel, your hospitality, your bar staff, wait staff, places where it's perhaps more tip dependent on income, or lower wage type jobs, or tourism based. We're not heavily tourism based here in the Portland area. So the biggest hit for the unemployment claims are just those that either aren't predominantly in this area, or also they just tend to demographically not be homeowners. Mining and logging next. Don't get a lot of mining here. information that I don't know what they're really meaning by that. If it's IT related jobs, which I can't imagine with more and more people working from home, but just kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown that, if you want to kind of look at almost half the employment by sector, it's mining, logging, leisure, not big homeowner demographics there. So that's what's been sheltering us quite a bit, and that's going to continue. We're already seeing some of those numbers improving. So that's why I kind of remain optimistic for real estate for the foreseeable. You start looking at kind of the claims by state. I just thought that this one was interesting. We fare a little bit worse here. We're the 11 to 15% unemployment for our state on the whole. I think everything is trending back to the right direction. So, we weren't the hardest hit. We weren't the easiest hit. I would say somewhat on par with half the country in terms of how bad things have gotten here in the Northwest. But so far it's seems to be a somewhat muted impact, and the recovery is kind of fully in effect. And this is the graph that I really enjoy seeing. I want to see this one continue to drop way down. It's the unemployment claims on a national basis dropping. It's a solid trend line coming down. So that's the nice part, to see that as things are starting to reopen, people are starting to get back to work. It is interesting now. I know you've all seen it. You go out to stores and shops in different locations, and everybody's got their own different kind of COVID protocol of how things are going to work, whether it's curbside or limited numbers of people in stores, or I think there's a lot of intelligence going on behind the reopening that we're seeing, at least here in the Portland area. So I like to think that we're doing it quite well. And then a couple things, I've talked a lot since all this has been coming up about what I call Vshape recoveries, meaning it's a sharp decline followed by a sharp pickup. And it was always sort of a time will tell, we'll see. And we saw it for a while a while ago in the mortgage applications. They dropped off. They started picking back up, back to positive country. So two good ones that personally I think I like to see. We're not quite back on the market on the Dow Jones from where we were prior to it, but you see that nice V shape, right? The recovery is not as steep as the decline, but hey, a V's a V, right? So I'll take it. So things are bouncing back, things are recovering. So that's only going to help get more people back to work, give people more consumer confidence, and get people back out buying houses. So how did the housing market fare? And this is on a national basis. I would love to find this kind of a chart for just the Portland area, but for now I'll take national because we want to talk V's. And if you want to see a V, there's your V-shaped recovery. Existing home sales ground to a halt, and even then it just paused. But there's your dip, and we're back higher than where we were even pre-pandemic. So a lot of this is pent up demand. It's people the shock and awe of what's going to happen with the COVID-19 and what does this mean. And I think people have now, I don't want to say gotten comfortable with it, but we know how to operate and do what we need to do safely and effectively. So people have since then figured out, I still need a house. I still want a house, whether you're first time buyers. There is a little bit of an exodus to the suburbs we're seeing. And there are tons and tons and tons of articles and discussions about people have now spent how many months kind of cooped up in their house prior to kind of reopening. And it was realized, frankly, the little small scale home doesn't work for them. If you give me a little small backyard, or I got a little side courtyard instead of a yard, it doesn't really work. If all the neighborhood parks and playgrounds are closed down, people need and want more space. Similarly, now as we're also seeing work from home demographics picking up, people just want the home office flexibility to be able to do that, because they realize not having a commute is actually pretty amazing. So this article came out, and I kind of laughed at this one. The housing market's on a sugar high, and we definitely are. Sales are soaring. Is it a good time to buy? A big spooky article. And all it really boiled down to is, there's not a lot to choose from right now. So it's sort of that you have to weigh kind of pros and the cons. There's not a lot of homes to choose from. So do you feel like you're going to be settling for a house because you don't have a lot of options? But do you do it now because rates are so good and they're not going to be this good a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? So it's just sort of is this the right time? And no big shock. The answer to that question is, well, it depends on every individual. So at the end of the day, it's just kind of a dumb article, but it was fun, just at least for the thought exercise of in what cases does this make sense to buy, or in what cases does it make sense to wait? So to talk about limited inventory, is going to put the pressures up on pricing. So we're looking for any kind of relief for upward pushes on home prices that we can get. So I'll throw this one out there because it's not going to help, but your lumber prices are going up. So your average new home price is for new homes is $14,000 higher than it was, simply because the sticks inside it cost more now. So sorry, news is getting a little bit worse across the board. So first COVID, now I got lumber prices, and whether it's back to tariff fighting or supply demand, don't have enough loggers to cut the trees, process, who knows, but we've got a myriad of things are working against us to see price relief ever coming up. For those of us here in the Portland area, obviously we have the urban growth boundary, so if you don't have the dirt to build more homes, you're just not going to build more. The demand is here. The unemployment numbers are trending down. People want to live in the Northwest versus living in other places they just would rather not live in anymore. Mortgage rates, are going to be roughly tied to regular interest rates, and that's not going to come back anytime soon. We're at near rock bottom. Could they go lower? Sure. You'll see them kind of bounce up, bounce down for a long time, but we can't start raising rates on the economy without threatening to stall the economy when we're in recovery mode. So I fully expect, personally, I think we're going to see mortgage rates staying this comically low level for a couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see kind of this bonkers real estate market continue through all of next year. I just don't see this letting up. I don't see what takes the foot off the throttle here. So I think, if you're ready to own, I'd make the argument that it's a great time, simply because prices are on the rise. Everything is pointing towards pushing those numbers up, whether it's the demographics in the Northwest or the fact that people want to work from home, need more space. There's nothing that's going to offset the lack of supply that we've got here anytime soon. So in that sense, I think it's a fantastic time. That said, I'll caution you, this can be a frustrating time to try to purchase a home as well, because there is such a lapse in inventory that when you have those homes that are priced well, those high demand style homes, we are seeing a lot of multiple offers. I'm hearing a lot of agents talk candidly about what they're calling stupid offers. People are waiving inspections. People are covering any kind of appraisal shortfall. The numbers are being bid up. We're seeing, in some cases, I've personally have been part of home sales where we've seen 8 or 9 other offers, and most recently 13 offers on a house. One person wins, 12 people lose, and they all roll to the next house, and it's frustrating. If you're selling a home, it tends, for the most, by and large, be a great time to be selling a house, simply because you are in a little bit more control. That said, mortgage financing is still a little tricky on the jumbo side. It's a little slower, so depending on your price point. And we are still seeing a lot of cases. We're seeing buyers are still being very discerning. They'll chase hard after certain homes, and others they still feel like, okay, there's still more balance in the market. So it's a fairly neurotic market right now, because in some cases there's no rhyme or reason as to why home A sold overnight with 13 offers and why home B is sitting. It's hard to understand in some cases. That said, so for sellers, if you're looking to sell a house, just make sure you price it right, make sure you market it right, and be prepared. It could be either of the two worlds that are about to unfold for you. So there you go. That's your weekly update. I hope that's been helpful for you. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jeannie and I. We love talking about this kind of stuff. And all right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a good week, everybody. Take care.